of Frex, where the inhabitants had no use for pearls, and far north of Pingaree, 6 days' journey by boat it was said, were twin islands named Regos and Corrigos, inhabited by a fierce and warlike people. Many years before the story really begins, 10 big boatloads of those fierce warriors of Regos and Corrigos visited Pingaree, landing suddenly upon the north end of the island. There they began to plunder and conquer, as was their custom. But the people of Pingaree, although neither so big nor so strong as their foes, were able to defeat them and drive them all back to the sea, where a great storm overtook the raiders from Regos and Corrigos and destroyed them and their boats, not a single warrior returning to his own country. This defeat of the enemy seemed the more wonderful because the pearl fishers of Pingaree were mild and peaceful in disposition and seldom quarreled even among themselves. Their only weapons were their oyster rakes, yet the fact remains that they drove their fierce enemies from Regos and Corrigos from their shores. King Kitticut was only a boy when this remarkable battle was fought, and now his hair was gray, but he remembered the day well, and during the years that followed, his one constant fear was of another invasion of his enemies. He feared they might send a more numerous army to his island, both for conquest and revenge, in which case there could be little hope of successfully opposing them. This anxiety on the part of King Kitticut led him to keep a sharp lookout for strange boats, one of his men patrolling the beach constantly, but he was too wise to allow any fear to make him or his subjects unhappy. He was a good king and lived very contentedly in his fine palace, with his fair queen Garee and their one child, Prince Inga. The wealth of Pingaree increased year by year, and the happiness of the people increased too. Perhaps there was no place, outside the land of Oz, where contentment and peace were more manifest than on this pretty island hidden in the bosom of the Nonestic Ocean. Had these conditions remained undisturbed, there would have been no need to speak of Pingaree in this story. Prince Inga, the heir to all the riches and the kingship of Pingaree, grew up surrounded by every luxury, but he was a manly little fellow, although somewhat too grave and thoughtful, and he could never bear to be idle a single minute. He knew where the finest oysters lay hidden along the coast, and was as successful in finding pearls as many of the men of the island, although he was so slight and small. He had a little boat of his own, and a rake for dragging up the oysters, and he was very proud indeed when he could carry a big white pearl to his father. There was no school upon the island, as the people of Pingaree were far removed from the state of civilization that gives our modern children such advantages as schools and learned professors. But the king owned several manuscript books, the pages being made of sheepskin. Being a man of intelligence, he was able to teach his son something of reading, writing, and arithmetic. When studying his lessons, Prince Inga used to go into the grove near his father's palace and climb into the branches of a tall tree where he had built a platform with a comfortable seat to rest upon, all hidden by the canopy of leaves. There, with no one to disturb him, he would pore over the sheepskin on which were written the queer characters of the Pingaree's language. King Kitticut was very proud of his little son, as well he might be, and he soon felt a high respect for Inga's judgment, and thought that he was worthy to be taken into the confidence of his father in many matters of state. He taught the boy the needs of the people, and how to rule them justly, for some day he knew that Inga would be king in his place. One day he called his son to his side and said to him, "Our island now seems peaceful enough, Inga, and we are happy and prosperous. But I cannot forget those terrible people of Regos and Corrigos.